So many people I work with here are like family to me. You know, we've known each other for so long and worked so well together.
Hi everyone, I'm Steve Stoller.
And I'm Shauna Haley, and this is Inside Plano. Well, welcome back to Inside Plano. I'm Shauna Haley, and as you know, on this podcast, we bring you inside the city for conversations. And today, things are going to be a little bit different. We're going to be a little bit celebratory and a little bit nostalgic, right?
I think so, Shauna. You know, I've been at the city for 11 and a half years, and I was in broadcast television news for 34 years. And I've decided that it's probably time to head into the sunset and hang it up. So I'm going to retire.
It's so painful every time you mention that, but it feels strange to hear you say that. It feels strange to say it out loud. You have been not just a co-host, but such a trusted friend to me over the last 10 years. I just celebrated with the city. So it's going to be very strange without you around. But you've just been a voice behind so many of the stories for the City of Plano. So we thought we would do things a little differently today. And Steve has self-admitted that this is a little uncomfortable. He's not usually the interviewee.
No, I mean, all those years as a reporter, I was the guy with the microphone behind the camera, except when I was on camera doing reporting and live shots and things like that.
Absolutely. Well, today we're going to extract some stories from Steve and learn a little more about his career and his time in public service here in Plano. So are you ready to get going, Steve?
I think I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. Well, let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
34 years in broadcasting before joining the City of Plano. That's a big change. What drew you to public service?
Well, you know, I had said for probably about a decade before I actually left television news that if I ever left, the one job I would love to have was doing public information at some capacity for the City of Plano. And the reason why was really twofold. I had lived here for a very long time. I've lived here for, 28 years. And I was the Collin County reporter for both Channel 4 and then Channel 8. So when you cover Collin County, you do a lot of stories in Plano. And I got to know so many people that worked for the City of Plano that when I actually got hired and we had our first executive team meeting, I felt like I was at a reunion. I mean, here's all these people, you know, the Parks and Rec director, the Public Works director, the city manager, the police chief. These are all people that I had interviewed multiple times through the years. So it was a perfect place for me.
So you've talked a little bit about that transition, but going from reporter to city spokesperson, what maybe surprised you the most about actually being on the government side?
Well, I think one of the things that surprised me is just the competence level of the executive team. And, you know, the friendliness, the collaboration with staff members, not just the directors, but the directors, they are such high quality people in their positions that I really believe that the majority of them can walk into any major corporation and not only get a job, but really shine because of how competent they are. I mean, we have an amazing staff here at the City of Plano. And I think in the community, I don't think people realize just the caliber of people that we have running the city.
That's a good word. I would agree. I mean, we have incredible colleagues. You know, over 11 and a half years, you've been with us through some pretty big moments with the City of Plano. Are there any, projects or crises that you were especially proud of helping the city communicate about?
Absolutely. The first one that comes to mind is when Toyota announced that they were moving their North American headquarters from Torrance, California to Plano. The city manager asked me to prepare a press release for a major global corporation that was going to make an announcement that they were moving here. And I said, well, who is it? And he said, I can't tell you. We have an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. And I said, well, how am I supposed to write a press release if I don't know who's coming? I can't just say a major global corporation. So the night before the announcement, it was leaked by the Dallas Morning News. So the next morning, it was pretty much common knowledge that it was Toyota. And my phone blew up. I was getting calls from literally all across the world, not just the USA. And everyone wanted to know why Toyota had chosen Plano. And it made me proud because obviously this is my community and our community, and there's so many incredible reasons why this major global corporation chose Plano. You know, we often hear it's a great place to live, work, and play, but there's so much behind that. We have great schools. We have a great business community. It is a great place to play. We have a award-winning park system. I mean, there's so much to offer here, and that's really the reason why Toyota chose Plano. So that was really a great moment.
Awesome. Well, I have a feeling some of our listeners may not know you beyond your role as co-host, but there's far more to your job. You just mentioned writing a press release, but can you maybe tell our listeners what the full scope of your role is as the Director of Media Relations? And before you answer that, I want to tell our listeners, Steve was the city's first ever Director of Media Relations, so you really created this role.
Yeah, and I'm very proud of that. First and foremost, the position serves as a liaison between the news media and the city government. So I get a lot of calls from reporters from all different types of media, newspaper, radio, and television. And when they need an interview, when they need information, I'm kind of the clearinghouse. They come to me and I will either find them the expert who can do an interview, or if that particular expert doesn't want to go on camera or do an interview, then I can get briefed by them, and then I'm the person who would do the interview or relay the information. So that's been a fun role for me because I was a reporter for 34 years, and now here I am on the other side. And I've often said that every city should have someone with a media background that does media relations, because you get it. You know, when a reporter calls me, that was me 11 and a half years ago. And I know that they need the information as soon as possible because they have a deadline in just a few hours. So whatever they need, I drop everything and I try to get them what they need, whether it's an interview or information. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed being on the other side. So that's a part of it. And then working with the mayor, and you know, there's certain times where the media is asking for a statement on a particular topic or issue. I work with the mayor on developing a statement, or it might not just be the mayor, it might be just the city in general has to respond to a request. And if they don't want us to go on camera, then sometimes we can just provide them with a statement regarding the city's position. That was a part of it. Crisis communications. People ask, well, what is crisis communications when it comes to media relations? Well, the city wants to uphold its positive reputation in the community. And there's certain things that come up that may threaten that. So we plan ahead to make sure that we're responsible in how we deal with those crises before they happen and after they happen. And then another big part of it was really television production, video production. You know, I loved putting stories together, writing stories, producing them, being a team with a photographer and editor who goes out into the community with me. That's what I did most of my career. And I've been able to hold on to that here at the City of Plano. You know, just a few years ago, we started Stoller on the Street. It was an idea from City Manager Mark Israelson. And he said, he paid me a compliment. He said, you know, Steve, you do such a good job taking complex issues and making them conversational. Well, that's what I did for 34 years as a reporter. You try to make it so that everyone can understand it. If the reporter doesn't understand it, how are you going to tell a story to hundreds of thousands of people? So the mission from the beginning was, let's tell people things about Plano that they probably didn't know. You know, the whole premise of the series Stoller on the Street was, did you know, fill in the blank. So now we're up to like 212 episodes that we put together. And it's really been a joy. I mean, I enjoy going out with my cell phone and a selfie stick and shooting video. One thing I never really got to do much of during my career was shoot video. And I love doing that. It takes me out of the office. And if it wasn't interesting, I probably wouldn't be doing a story on it. And then we have the newscast, Plano City News, that we've done once a week. So I still get that little tiny bit of anchoring in doing that. And then other videos that we put together, I write a lot of those videos and work with your team at Plano Television. And I've loved doing that. It's really been complete for me, having all these different responsibilities in one position. I've really enjoyed it.
And such a great collaboration between the Department of Communications and the Department of Media Relations. I often say, you know, we can't do our work without you, and you can't do your work very easily without us. And just it makes Plano a lot stronger in sharing information with the community.
Absolutely. And honestly, it's been like a dream job for me. I often say, if it's my community and we do something positive for the community, it gives me just a feeling of pride. And I often say it's more than a mission than a job, because when it's your community, you have a completely different perception.
Absolutely. It's like working for your family, an avocation, right?
Absolutely.
Well, you know, thinking about this podcast, which we've been doing for quite some time as well, this is actually our 86th episode.
Wow.
I mean, we've been doing it for a long time on a monthly basis. A lot of guests that we've interviewed. Have you, as a storyteller, as a connector with people, had some favorite moments or you know, stories that you've learned through the experience?
Absolutely. We always like to open the podcast by asking employees that we're interviewing if there's something about them, maybe a hobby or something we don't know. And it's been pretty interesting, some of the responses we've gotten. The late David Tilley, who was a good friend, he was a public information officer for the Plano Police Department, passed away. We never knew he was a beekeeper. We had Ryan Delzell, who was in our Public Works Department, and we didn't know that he liked to vacation in Fiji. And then the other one was Jamie Cantrell, who's our Animal Services Director. We didn't realize that he's actually a referee. So yeah, it's like every time we asked that question, we always got an interesting response. And it was always great getting to know someone beyond their role as a director or manager with the city.
Absolutely. It just kind of spurred this thought of like, I feel like I ought to go back and listen to all of those episodes, because the number of people who were native Planoites surprised me as well. We have a lot of people who've been with the city as an employee for a long time who were also born and raised or elementary school on up in Plano, or, you know, in your case, almost 40 years in Plano, I think.
Well, 27.
27.
Covering it almost 40.
Yeah, long
but
time.
Living here 28 years.
Yeah, and you know, 25 years for me is a long time in Plano. Well, you're closing a chapter. What are some things that you think that you've learned about Plano that you did not know before starting to work for the city?
Well, when you work for the city, you learn about all these inside things that you never really had any perspective on. And one of them is economic development. You know, we've interviewed Doug McDonald, our economic development director, Peter Braster, special projects director. It's amazing the work that the teams do to enhance the business community and bring in businesses. And really, that's how we land companies like Toyota, Liberty Mutual, JP Morgan Chase, Boeing Global Services, and on and on and on. I mean, you can go down the list all day with all the companies we've attracted. And that's really been interesting to learn how we attract businesses here globally too. I mean, we've had businesses come in from literally all over the world. We have an Indian business that's coming in. We've attracted businesses from Japan, from Taiwan. That has amazed me. But also the inner workings of something as simple as public works, and engineering, dealing with the streets. You know, how much work and effort we put into keeping our streets good. That's another thing that a lot of people don't think about. You know, people complain about the construction, but a lot of people don't look at the big picture. I mean, you can go to some of our neighboring cities, don't want to mention any, and there are a lot of potholes and the roads are deteriorating. We have more road construction because we're more proactive about keeping our roads in good quality, in shape. I mean, you know, after 40 years, roads deteriorate, sewer lines deteriorate, water lines deteriorate. We are really proactive on keeping our infrastructure quality.
Well, you were talking about people don't understand, fill in the blank. So after, nearly 12 years of serving as the public information officer, more or less, for the city, what advice would you give our residents on how they can stay informed?
Well, I think it's important to stay informed. I think people generally take for granted what their city government offers them. A lot of people, they don't pay attention to the issues before city council. They drive on the roads, they see things happening, but we put out a lot of communications, a lot of public information about what we're doing as a city for them. And really, we are here to serve them. Serve, the word serve is a big concept for the city of Plano. And, it's ideological, but I really hope that at some point people pay a little closer attention to the inner workings of the city and why and how we do the things we do. I think people would be a lot more accepting and supportive if they knew the inner workings of government.
Well, are there any other parting thoughts that you'd love to leave with our listeners?
Well, we live in a great city. We really do. And, when we talk about live, work, and play, this is such an exceptional place to live, work, and play. We have so many things going for us here, amenity-wise. We have among the lowest tax rate in North Texas. We're all about serving our community, and I think we do a really good job of it.
Well, thanks, Steve, for being such a great co-host for the last near decade, and of course, just such a great friend and colleague. It's been such a joy. Steve has brought just a real sense of calm and compassion and clarity to messaging.
Well,
it's been an honor.
Well, I feel the same way about you and your friendship, and we've been a great team working together for all these years.
It'll be a different day on the Inside Plano podcast, and definitely a different day in our suite upstairs.
As excited as I am about the future and retiring, I'm a little melancholy and sad too, because so many people I work with here are like family to me. We've known each other for so long and worked so well together.
I guess they always say that if you don't feel a little bittersweet, then something wasn't worth doing.
Right.
So it's certainly the situation. But I can tell our listeners that, just a kind of behind the scenes, this isn't the last time that you're going to hear Steve's voice. We've recorded a couple of other episodes with Steve, so you'll still hear him as a co-host for the next upcoming episodes. And we are going to obviously keep all of those wonderful Stoller on the Street videos that Steve mentions. They're great resources for all of the Did You Knows in Plano. So Steve is still was part of the story of the City of Plano and will continue to be part of the story of City of Plano. For other city updates, you can always follow us on plano.gov or on the city's YouTube channel. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, we'd love to hear them. Ask Plano at plano.gov is the way you get in touch with us. Thanks so much, and thank you, Steve.
Am I doing that right?
Yes, he's doing a heart for those of you listening, and for those of you on video,
Thank you, everybody. It's been wonderful. Thank you, Shauna.
Thank you, Steve.
And that's it for our Inside Plano. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did doing it.
If you have any comments or suggestions, send them to us at askplano@plano.gov. Bye.
Talk to you next month. The Inside Plano podcast is brought to you by the City of Plano.